Good afternoon. So, as you may know, I spent a considerable amount of my career at an ad agency, and when I was at J. Walter Thompson, I heard the most amazing story. There were three guys out on a location on a shoot. They were an account director, a copywriter, and an art director, and they were wandering around this magnificent location on a beach, and they came upon a bottle, and they cleaned off the bottle, and they opened it up, and out hopped this genie. And the genie said, "Oh, thank you for freeing me from this bottle. I have 3 wishes for each of you. For each one of you gets a wish." So the creative guy, the art director, said, "You know, I want to paint on the left bank of Paris. It's been my life dream." And poof, he's gone. And the copywriter says, "I want to go to the Rocky Mountains to a cabin in the woods and write the great American novel." And poof, he's gone. And the account guy is left. And the genie says, "What can I do for you?" And he said, "I want those assholes back here right now." And I bring this story to your attention because for me, market mix models pretty much took the fun out of the advertising business. It got serious, right? It got very serious in the last 25 years. And so when Sequent Partners has had an opportunity to study market mix models in the current state of the practice and understand some of the nuances and everything, it was a great learning opportunity to see what the industry had done. So we had an opportunity to do 8 broad-scale studies in 8 major media across the last 4 years. We spent a tremendous amount of time, 168 hours of interviews among modelers and advertisers and media people talking about what they're doing. And that represented 9,900 minutes of discussion about current practices in market mix models. And that's our meta-analysis. It occurred to us that we really do have quite a view of the best practices that are going on right now in the industry's current thinking on this. And our overall conclusions were that there is 0 media being fully valued today in market mix models. And this is kind of an important issue for us, and we looked into it in a whole bunch of different ways. There are 3 fundamental reasons that we're going to talk about for just an overall understanding of what advertising is really doing in the market mix. One of our first reasons, and Jim's going to talk about a couple of these other ones, but the one I want to talk about is that 100% of the practitioners are generally unaware of media, of granularity issues, of the way media are measured, and the way the advertising inputs are reflected in the models. And what this does is that media being less granular and less precise than it should be will produce a misalignment with the sales data and the store data and the individual data that people are using to measure the output of advertising performance. Why does this matter, Jim?
So an econometrician, an account planner, and a media researcher are walking on the beach. No, I'm not going to do that, sorry. But that's kind of the nature of the story. It matters because we've seen that more granular media data can easily increase the ROI of the measured medium by 27%. In fact, in some cases, by twice as much of that. So it's not insignificant. And it's not an indictment of modelers, because the world of econometrics is arcane, and it only gets even more interesting with the structural equation models and vector autoregression and Bayesian networks and all the kind of cool stuff, not to mention single source data and some of the cool stuff that's going on right now. They can't be expected to be completely on top of issues as a media researcher might be. And in fact, the problem is the data that a media researcher would consider high quality, perfect for the application of planning, buying, is nice, stable data that doesn't bounce around too much, because you plan media, you buy media, you deliver media. You want those numbers to be about the same, because a lot of money changes hands because of that. But market mix modeling is analysis of variance. And if you average out the variance, you don't find much. So it's quite important. Let's look at a second one of the three reasons that Alice mentioned. And what we've heard, and this is anecdotal, but we've heard this consistently from modeler after modeler, that about 70% of advertising's effect is creative. Not surprising, we call it advertising. And sometimes the differences in creative executions are not analyzed in a model. Sometimes they are. But when they're not, what may happen is you might have good, bad, ugly creative. And if you look at the average, the medium itself may not look good. You might say, oh, we tried outdoor, it didn't work. Well, maybe the creative didn't work. Maybe the medium was fine. So that's one issue around creative. The other issue is we would love to see ad research plugged into marketing mix modeling, because that would enable you to move beyond just saying what worked to why it worked, how can we do better in the future. And we all know advertising ROIs are not usually that stellar in econometric models, and I think this is a place where we can move from measuring efficiency to measuring effectiveness and improving rather than just a kind of scorecarding. Oh yeah, like I said. All right, so the third point we want to say is we're talking about long-term effects, and we're going to cite our friend Leslie Wood's work from an ARF conference last year, I think it was, that she found a range of effects between long-term effects being 80% to 350 or 3.5 times the short-term effects. Now, Gail cited Advertising Works 1, where we found the magic number 2. And for decades, people have been saying, okay, here's the short-term effect, long-term effect is 2, let's just double it. And it makes you feel better about a low ROI effect like advertising. It can sometimes be the difference between justifying advertising or not, but it doesn't help you understand advertising. It doesn't help you manage a brand, build a sustainable, profitable business through branding. So, there's a lot of methods. In our studies, we found at least 5 different methods for doing a good job of measuring long-term effects of advertising. But what's missing is a unified theory. What's missing is the right kind of guidance to management, the right kind of guidance about media selection, the right kind of guidance about creative, what creative is working, what's not working, what should be on air, what should be taken off air, and what's missing is the long-term guidance about building long-term profitable brands. So we think there's a lot of opportunity. This is last year, I should say, was the 25th anniversary of the commercialization of marketing mix models. I was really surprised and astounded to hear Stan say that Unilever did modeling back in 39, I think he said, or 36, a long time ago. But in 89, first commercial firms were offering mix modeling, and it's 25 years later. So it's really a good time for a little introspection, a little re-examination, and thinking about, okay, what's left to be done? How can things be improved? And the world of data and analytics that we live in today offers tremendous opportunity. So we think it's great. We think it's a wonderful time to kind of take that next step. And we're going to call upon the whole industry to make this change. The media owners can only benefit by being measured correctly. The advertisers, it's their money that's being spent. It's their money that's being allocated. You would think you'd want to do it the best way possible. We think there could be a role for the ANA to educate and produce better consumers of modeling. There are some people like Steve, who's an excellent consumer of market mix modeling, and there are other people that we've talked to who don't really know what's going on. And they could use some help. We'd like to call out SIM for doing a great job in terms of building some of that ad identification infrastructure that's necessary to do this. We think the modelers do a great job. They're focused on quality. They're focused on innovation. Maybe there could be a little more sharing to raise all boats. Maybe that's a role ARF could play. I mean, we're bringing a lot of this to light today. Maybe there's more that could be done. And the agencies, especially the creative agencies, need to get involved, because this is about learning how creative works, how creative can work better, and that really ups the whole game, ups the ROI, and ultimately ups the investment in advertising.
You know what else I wanted to say?
I was going to ask you what else
I wanted to
say.
say that some of the issues of media and media inputs into the models are really complex. And there aren't enough media researchers left anymore in the industry, but it's really, really difficult, and they're tough topics, and you have to ask all the tough questions. Sometimes we give this speech and people are like, oh, I'm so depressed, I don't know what to do about it. Start asking questions, be ready to spend more money on good data, high quality data, and work with the trade associations, and we can continue moving for the next 25 years. Thank you very much.
Come on, I hear Jaws. Let's go.